so Tinamarie's tips and tricks for a Schnauzer. So these were just groomed, but I just want to go over some of the things that I do a little bit differently so that everyone knows. Forgive her whining. So first off, I want to go over the marks of where the Schnauzer skirt goes. So we'll start with that. I'm going to do the body first. So when doing the neck, we want to come down. Get all of that, that's okay. And Schnauzers are supposed to be really close to the skin, so depending on how thick your Schnauzer is furred, whereas these are furred pretty darn thickly. If it's a thinner Schnauzer and it's like wispy hair, then you might want to go a little bit longer. But I'm using this setting on a Bravera, so 1.9 millimeters. And I want to start all the way at the neck and the face. Like the head, everything is pretty much just the same length, so to save myself time, I just start at the back of the neck and I go. Okay, so of course this is just all regular, right? You come down the back. But where people get into trouble is where the skirt lines are. So this starts where the back of the leg creases. So when you pick up this knee, where this little crease is right here, that's where it starts on the back leg. So I'm going to take all of this down. I do want to make sure I get under the tail. Sometimes it's like wrestling with them, like thumb wrestling. So I can either roll the fur. She's like letting me do it, and she's so little, I'm stronger than her. Stop. So we've got that part down. And then let's see, it's done with the fur back here. So we have right here where it goes into the crease. It starts right here where it starts to suck in. So this is just down a little bit low right now. And then here on the shoulder, you want to feel this muscle. And as that, she doesn't really have much of a muscle, this puppy, but right about here is where that should go down to. And the skirt is supposed to go into the armpit and go back. So here we need to bring it down a bit. So it should just tuck right behind that elbow, like that. Here we want to pull this up and we want to blend down. And then when you come to the skirt, you want to make sure that you don't have the tutu effect. So if that's happening, you want to take a guard comb. This is a 2 in this case. So you want to knock that off. You want to go straight down while you're doing it, especially on the skirt area, so that you don't get into her skirt, but you don't want to have a tutu effect. Okay? Now this is perfect where the skirt is starting because it's right where the rib cage starts to cave back under. The purpose of the skirt is to fold, hide that dip under there. When it comes to the front of the skirt, of the Schnauzer, there's a breastbone right here. You want to make sure you're right at the top of that breastbone, and then it follows down. So this pattern up here is set pretty well. Again, we don't want the tutu effect, so we take our comb guard and we just knock it off by going straight down. Okay, let's do the other side similar way. So we're gonna check that her bend, where her bend is right here, that's where her skirt starts. So I feel like she did a good job with that. We just wanna, and what you wanna be doing is exposing this muscle. And then as the muscle goes into the leg, that's where we're gonna let that fall. So we have a really good mark here. This again is a little bit high, so we're gonna bring this down just a bit. And this is the side right here. I'm pulling up on the skin so that I can blend. And when I let it go, it rolls back down there. Again, we want no tutu effect. So we don't want frills that just go straight out. So I'm just gonna knock some of that off. And same with here on the arm. Okay. Same with here on the back leg. So if I knock this off and then we still have such a severe bump right there, then two things you can do is use your Bravera or your 7, and you just kind of run that off, right, so that it's gone, the line. There we go. Okay, so that's there. Thing I want to touch on is the ears. Make sure you hold the ear completely flat because there's this little lip on top and it likes to curl up and go right into your 10 blade and make the dog bleed, which is the worst. So I love my Bravera, and I'm always going perpendicular, or no, maybe parallel to the edge, and then I use my finger to set the pattern. So that's on the outside. On the inside, I do the equivalent of the 40. I hold it very flat, and I use my palm. So now if you look at the edge, it looks completely scissored, and I don't have to scissor that at all. So compared to this edge, right, which is very rough looking, again, they have the little fur in there, so, I mean the flaps of skin. Don't move, girl. Don't let her pull. But I'm using my finger with the 40 equivalent. And that way we get a nice sharp edge, right? I'm gonna do that again on this side. And the one thing we wanna check too is that a lot of times with these guys, they get really severely matted in their armpits. So when you have that kind, the best way to do it is to shave the armpit out. And the way to do that is to hold the arm at a right angle away from the body and to shave this inside of the elbow out. By doing that, you remove the mat, but when you let go, there's no hole in either the side of the skirt or the front of the skirt. So for some reason her eyebrows are really, really short. Normally they would be much longer, so we might do a second video on the other one if it's a little bit longer. But bottom of the eye is where we want to clear the fur from, but the top of the eye is where we leave it. Okay, as you brush them all forward. You want to completely separate them. This dog is so tiny. But by going completely right down the middle with your thinning shears, being sure not to hit either side of the orbital bone. And so it's really far over here. This is like, so we look at that. So we separated them. Then you would brush them all down. Make your curves. And from the corner of the eye is where your scissors would go, and make sure the tips are on the tip of the nose. And you would trim from the side eye. So we really want to trim over here. There should be a lot more brow in the front that would come out to the point. I'll let that grow back. Side of the face. We've shaved this all back right here. So now we want to take our thinning shears. We want to have a nice sharp line. So generally speaking, you don't trim beards, but this one's got more of a manicured beard. So you would go from the back down into a nice angle. To see how hers is missing. Usually in grooming, you don't want any sharp edges, but with Schnauzers, they're supposed to be angular and sharp. When looking at the top of the eye, the orbital bone, you want to kind of picture like this eye socket, and it should be, the brow should just go right over that. So I'm going to take my thinning shears right over that area, and that will help to distinguish brow from head. So all of this back here was head, not brow. See how long we have those? And very carefully, have a very secure hand. And go back along that eyebrow. So that it, and then it's tapers off. There we go. So see how I separated that brow out? So even though it's been shortened and cut off, it's now just an eyebrow. And then I can see right here in the middle, oh, that should have been gone. And then this should be much longer in a triangle. So as that grows out, it'll at least have the right shape when it grows out now. The corner of the eye to the whisker in the bottom of the middle there. So it should be a nice sharp line. And whenever it's like that on the inside, I just get all that. Okay. For some reason, when you look at her beard, it looks like the slant is going this way, but it should be from the corner of the eye forward. And then this should be very long and full. So if we're gonna do a donut face, I'm gonna round all this off because it's just so long. It's just so short in the front for some reason. So I'm just gonna leave that for now. But we need to grow back the front so that this should be like way longer down to here. And this should be going that way. So I'm gonna make sure that we have a nice even skirt. And these dogs in particular can get really matted. So what I do is I have to sometimes just take it down. And then we start all over. And then when it gets matted again, I take it off. So we fluff it out. Your skirt should always be going in a slant forward. So if for some reason your skirt isn't slanting, then just take a little bit off right there to make it slant. Then with your legs, if you're doing really manicured legs, and just make it look like any other full leg. But just be sure that you see how uneven that is under there. So just make sure we're looking for even lines. The skirt's already pretty short, but normally it would fill in from here to here.